Hey, YouTube family, Bulls and Bears. It is Sunday, January 23rd, 2022. The economic super bubble is coming to an end. That's not me saying that. That's somebody else that's very well known in the financial community. And we're going to talk about who said that and what they might mean by that. We're also going to talk about the housing market today and what many refer to as the housing bubble. Now, keep in mind when we say bubble, it doesn't mean that it can't get bigger. Anytime you have the ability to type up digital currency out of thin air, then you have the capabilities of engineering a bubble that goes bigger, even though it's already expanded past what the last housing bubble expanded to. So we're going to talk about a lot of that and more. Let's get started right here. And let's talk about this one here. Good luck is what he says. We'll all need it. U.S. market approaches the end of the super bubble, and that's Jeremy Grantham. Now, this was originally reported on, I found it at Market Watch, but it was widely reported. And yes, he talks about the housing bubble from this article here. The U.S. is approaching the end of a super bubble spanning across stocks, bonds, real estate, and commodities following massive stimulus during the Great Sickness. And the end of the super bubble is what he says is going to be leading to the largest markdown of wealth in its history once pessimism returns to rule the markets. Now, this article goes on to say how Jeremy Grantham deplores super bubbles. He says, quote, "One of the main reasons I deplore super bubbles and resent the Fed and other financial authorities for allowing and facilitating them is the under-recognized damage that bubbles cause as they deflate." Now, yes, I agree with him. Bubbles that deflate do cause damage, but it's damage that needs to be done anyways. For example, a lot of people will lose their jobs as soon as the bubble is allowed to go bust. As soon as the bubble pops, many of these jobs will be gone. Many real estate agents will not be needed. And when that goes down, when the housing bubble pops, you're going to see it scatter across the entire economic spectrum. You're going to see furniture stores closing down. You're going to see home improvement stores lose out on a lot of business. You're going to see a lot of other financial people, loan officers, underwriters, etc. Lose their jobs. Now, I happen to work in the financial sector myself and have for many years, and I've seen firsthand the type of job changes that happen when booms and busts occur. And it's pretty obvious, what happened in the financial crisis. The housing bubble went bust, and I showed a chart on this before about half of the licensed agents, or about half of the agents that had real estate licenses let their licenses expire in the years following the end of the housing bubble. We're talking about 2009, 10, 11, 12. Since then, we've regained a lot of those real estate agent jobs. All right, but that's just one example of how the bust or the popping of the bubble can really cause damage in the economy. But again, these are jobs that are only there in the first place because of the economic bubble, because of the stimulus, the QE, all of the lending, the debt accumulation, credit. Flip side of that is debt. And that creates jobs, no lie, and no doubt about it. But we have to realize that these are jobs that would not have been there to begin with if it weren't for the economic bubbles. So yes, those jobs need to go, and I don't want to act like an inconsiderate person or someone that doesn't have empathy. Anyone that loses their job, obviously that's not a good thing. But there's two ways to look at it. One, it's awful, you lost your job. Or two, be happy that you had a job to begin with, because you wouldn't have had it if it wasn't for the economic boom that was created via the money creation. All right, it's kind of like someone that loses a pet. It's a terrible thing. Sometimes dogs can live pretty long, 15 years in some cases. And yes, you're going to be sad when you lose that family pet that's been around for 10 or 15 years. But if you look at the lifespan of a pet, sometimes dogs don't make it past 12 or 13 years old. If you have a pet for 15 years, that's actually pretty good. If you had a good job for 10 or 15 years because of an economic boom that was created by digital money creation, be happy that you had a job for that long. And I really hope that you put away some savings and put some money away for the storm or the rainy day that's going to eventually get here when the boom is allowed to bust. All right. Now, I've said here many times, I don't know exactly what's going to happen. They could engineer this thing all the way into a super inflation, hyper price rise type of environment. They could pull the rug out from under this, take a leg out from under the table, and allow this whole thing to collapse. There could be some sort of other scare or event, even a cyber event that could bring this whole thing down. I don't know what's going to happen. I try to play both sides. And what do I mean by that? I mean have cash so you can go in and buy goods and assets when they do come down in price, if and when. But also have some investments. That way, if this thing continues to get bigger, if this bubble doesn't pop, you're going to wish you had at least something invested somewhere, real estate, different assets, digital assets, etc. And yes, that includes metals, in my portfolio. But back to Jeremy Grantham, he's pretty convinced that this, what he's calling a super bubble, is nearing its end. Could that be because the Fed's talking about raising rates? Is that all he's basing his analysis on? Well, here's what he says here. Equity bubbles tend to begin to deflate from the riskiest parts of the market, as the one that Grantham is warning about. He says here, quote, "So good luck. We will all need it," unquote. But he continues here, "We're in what I think of as the vampire phase of the bull market, where you throw everything you have at it." Now let's think about what he said. That's an interesting choice of words. Good luck, you'll need it. So that's all we get from one of the most legendary investors in the game is good luck, you'll need it. Well, I had a friend a long time ago, and he used to always tell me when I said something like good luck or something like that, he used to say, "I don't believe in luck." That's what he used to tell me. I don't believe in luck. And I used to go back and forth with him a little bit and kind of debate that topic. So if you flip a coin and you say it's going to be heads and it comes up as heads, is that skill or is that luck? I think that's just luck. So yes, I believe that there is something called luck, but luck can also be created. So for example, if someone sees all the money printing and they invest knowing that prices are going to go higher, that's not luck. That's skill involved in that, and strategy. So yes, there is luck, but also you can position yourself for what we see happening in the economy. Now, staying on the topic of real estate and the housing bubble, I just want to mention something I've talked about here more recently, more than usual here recently, is how there's been several channels here on YouTube, people that follow the economy, predicting the real estate market to start declining or dropping right now, January. Here we are 1 week until the end of the month. The housing market hasn't even begun to correct yet, even with the slightly higher mortgage rates, because markets don't move that fast. And even if they did, there's a lot of things that can happen to keep this bubble elevated. Supply shortages, more loose lending, institutional buyers that can come in and scoop up even more homes when the average working person can no longer afford a home with the rates rising. And I don't want to put anybody on blast, but there's more than one channel out there that I watch, and I appreciate these channels. I actually watch several different channels. I learn a lot from some of these people, but some of them have predicted, the housing bubble to begin busting now, and it's simply not happening. And I don't want to say, yeah, I'm right. This is not something I'm proud of. But this is just something that we can see when we look at all the different factors that affect real estate prices and housing demand. And here's a recent article just came out yesterday. Inflation keeping house prices high even with rising mortgage rates. So again, just like we predicted here, home prices not coming down. There's too many inflationary factors continuing to push prices higher. In order for home prices to come down, we're going to have to stop seeing, or we're going to have to see some sort of big change in our system of banking and lending, right? As long as banks can continue to loan out bigger and bigger mortgages and can go to infinite leverage, and I'm talking about the reserve ratio or the reserve requirement, infinite leverage, that means there's no limit to how much currency they can loan out. I almost called it money. I try to call it currency because some people think, that the current digital system is not actually money, whatever you want to call it. As long as you have that, there's always the way for home prices to get pushed up higher. Will a lawmaker come in and change things with the sign of a pen? Probably not, because then they'll be the one that gets pointed at as the cause of the mess. And most people don't know really what's causing this bubble to begin with. So all they'll do is just blame the person that took the punch bowl away from the party. And that's why you see this motive by a lot of the leaders, quote unquote leaders, and lawmakers to just keep kicking the can down the road, keep inflating the bubble to bigger and bigger territory, and more rising prices. So what's going to pop the bubble? Please let me know. Also, what do you think about the warning out of Jeremy Grantham? He says, good luck. You'll need it. What does he mean by that? Does he mean all the job losses that'll happen if and when the bubble pops? Well, I think that's part of it. Also, do you believe in luck? Is there any such thing as luck? Please let me know down in the comments. Everybody, thanks for being here. Big love for being here and supporting this channel. I really appreciate each and every one of you, and I'll be reading your comments. Be well, everybody. Peace.